Hello, people of the earth. I promised you an 80 CRV2 heat treatment experiment, and here it is. As a reminder, this is our 1084 steel knife 3-hour challenge. This is the third attempt at this, and that was as good as I could get in the time constraints and forge temperature constraints of the 3-hour knife challenge. Here it was without time and temperature constraints. I just heated the forge initially, very low temperature. This is a very low temperature quench. After 3 normalization cycles, on the left is 2 normalization cycles. This was 3, much more refined grain. And then here's the 80 CRV2. We'll look at it in the non-blurred out view at the end. But for now, this is all you get. Let's talk about what I did here. So if you remember in the podcast on 80 CRV2, there was a whole wide variation on heat treat recommendations on the internet. A lot of it was bunk, and we settled on Kevin Cashin as a pretty reliable source with some help from Tapio Sirajala, and this is sort of the recommendations they made. Okay, so here we go. I've got an 80 CRV2 knife and a little piece that I cut off, and I put it in a hot forge for 15 minutes at the same temperature I was forging this knife at, and I've broken it open here to look at the grain, because I think that's about what this knife should look like right now. And as you can see, that grain size is fairly well controlled. I'm very impressed. 1084 at that temperature would have been a lot larger. So we're going to put it back in the forge at forge welding temperatures, much higher than forging temperatures for the knife. I'm going to leave it there for 10 minutes. I'm sort of pointing at it there. We'll let it cool and break it open again and see if the grain grew anymore, because I think it should be huge. Yeah, that's it. That is about what 1084 would look like at a lower temperature. I think it's very interesting, the difference in grain size growth there between 1084 and the 80 CRV2, which took much higher temperatures to grow to a large size. So this is a normalization cycle. As you can see, it's a little bit different than Kevin Cashin's. We're doing 3 cycles at 3 different temperatures, starting at his upper limit and then stepping down. We're quenching it at 1525 degrees Fahrenheit in AAA medium oil. So this is a commercial quenchant. You could use canola oil, which is sort of a medium oil if you don't have a commercial quenchant. I have to say, this was very difficult to break. This is my 4th time trying to break it. I've had to go in and cut more successively a larger gap there to weaken it so it'll break. And I would say this is one of the most durable steels I've tried to break open. To clarify, it has not been tempered at this stage yet. That is just silky smooth. That's, to the naked eye, that's as good grain size as you can get. So let's put it under the microscope and see what we get. Here's the result. And as you can see, it's close to the 1084 steel with 3 normalizations and a low temperature quench. I think it outdoes it, though. I think it outpaces it. So that's it, guys. That's where I would leave it. I think that's a very adequate heat treatment and one I'll probably stick with. It would be interesting to do this with forge side quenching versus the temperature controlled for 80 CRV2. But, grain size is only a part of the heat treatment issue here. There's things like carbides and spreading out the, alloys, homogenizing everything, which usually takes some soaks. And the more alloys you have in general, the more of that you have to do. I'm not saying that that's specifically the case with 80 CRV2. I'm not very sure, but Kevin Cashin's recommendation to heat treat it more like a tool steel sort of reinforces the idea here that there's more to contend with than just grain size. And so I think to get those longer soaks that you might otherwise use for a tool steel, that you really are going to need temperature control. And I'm not sure that, again, getting a comparable grain size, trying to work out some forge side heat treatment regimen is going to adequately deal with the alloys and homogenization and things like that. But, who knows? Probably not something I'm going to mess around with. I think 80 CRV2 definitely deserves better temperature control than I can provide in a forge. So we'll just keep on doing it in the oven.